Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. Keir Starmer's government is planning to scrap the voter IDs, and the government are also planning to fund new inquiries into grooming gangs, but we are here to expose them as a fake distraction. And in this live stream, we're going to be joined by a very special guest to discuss the latest drama around the Labour cabinet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously our first day of the new daily schedule for the live streams. Monday to Friday, we're going to have 3 fixed live streams a day, so you know exactly when the live shows will be, which is at 10 a.m. UK time in the morning, 1 p.m. UK time, and 7 p.m, which is now if you're watching this live. Throughout the day, breaking news or whatever else happens, we'll obviously be posting that separately. We're going to be joined by a guest soon, but before we do that, let's talk about this messed up story. Over the last few weeks and months, we've been talking a lot about the Labour government's plans to essentially rig the future elections by giving voting rights to children, to foreigners, to now scrapping the voter IDs and many other issues that they are basically focusing on to change constitutional changes without doing an actual referendum or getting the public consent. That's one of the biggest issues. If you make major constitutional changes in the United Kingdom, the convention is that you want to do a referendum. That's usually how it used to work. Apparently not anymore, according to these guys. They're doing the same thing as Tony Blair did at the time. We will be, as I said, our guest is almost ready. But let's actually talk about the details that we have. Because these plans include automatically registering voters shortly before their 16th birthday, a move that would add 700,000 young people to the electoral register each year. So you know how normal grown-up adults, they have to essentially register to vote manually because that's what you have to do. But for children, they're going to be potentially doing it automatically. So before you even become 16, you will automatically be registered. You get sent a letter saying, would you like to vote for the Labour Party? We registered you automatically, so now you can vote. That's another problem. Obviously, voting rights for foreigners, that's also a huge problem separately, because obviously the demographic changes in the United Kingdom means that things will be massively different going forward. So, Jacob Rees-Mogg has already come to react to this story, saying foreign nationals must not be allowed to vote in the UK elections. Most will have the option to apply for British citizenship, and if they have not taken it up, clearly do not want to be full participants in our country, so do not deserve the precious right to vote. Actually, that's true. I would also question whether it is still right to allow Commonwealth citizens to vote. It is an historic anomaly that in an era of excessive migration ought to be reviewed. I actually agree with Jacob Rees-Mogg. We're not allowed to vote in Canada, Australia. Why should the Commonwealth members be automatically allowed to vote in the United Kingdom? Well, obviously, we have to talk about the chaos around this government in general, especially with the today's announcement about the new fake inquiries into the grooming gangs, right? But in order to do that, we are going to bring in our guest expert in Westminster drama. If he's ready, are you ready? I don't know what's going on with him. He's not ready, is he? He's not ready. No, he's going to come back in a second, don't worry. He's going to call back. That's fine. But one of the issues that we have is about Yvette Cooper and the central government's proposals to fund, the national government will be funding local inquiries. Yeah. So, you know how they say we're not going to do a national inquiry because it's a local problem. So use the taxpayers' money to do local inquiries. Now they said, okay, we'll be funding them instead. With what money? Taxpayers' money. There's absolutely no difference, basically, at this point. All right, so let's, I think we can now finally, can we? What is it doing? All right, let me show you who I'm dealing with here. Then you'll understand my frustration. There we go. Andrea Walker is here. So, what is he doing? What do you... Can you hear me? Andre is calling again. What is happening? Uh, Andre, oh no, this is a mess. Andre, hang on.
Oh, I
That's
don't know
that
if
one.
you can hear me. I do
Oh
apologise.
yes, yeah, yes. You're here. What are you
There we go.
doing?
And it's
You
also
always.
very much for me, isn't it? I'll have to look at this camera. There we go.
That's fine. That's fine. You always say you're not really you're a bit of a technophobe, but yes, you're definitely not a technophobe.
Not the only thing I'm phobic about.
So we have you for about 10 minutes. Apparently, you have better plans than being on TCTV. What are you doing tonight?
Do you know what? I've got a very good friend of mine who's appearing on GB News, so I'm going with him because he's not appeared that often, so he's going to pop over.
Oh, right. So you're going to go on a rival channel. Fair enough. Anyway, so we're focusing on the issue. Keir Starmer is planning a few things. Scrapping the voter IDs. Not just giving rights to, voting rights to foreigners and children, but actually automatically registering children just before they become 16. Your thoughts?
Well, look, the Labour Party is reliant on electoral fraud, and what they do is they facilitate a system in which they know that closed ethnic communities will commit the fraud on their behalf. Now, what a lot of your viewers are going to wonder is why on earth would would the Labour Party get away with this when the Conservatives have been in power? The reason the Conservatives, and apologies for the technology, I'll get it right eventually,
You're
but
frozen. Your face is
okay.
frozen. I can hear you. Don't worry. Keep going.
Well, let's just think of this as an audio broadcast. Yeah, the reason why Labour can get away with it is because the Conservatives have lots of little old ladies who register for postal votes, and actually there are more little old ladies in marginal constituencies than there are recent migrants to commit electoral fraud. But I will give you an example. In Pendle, in Lancashire, there were 70 people in one two up two down house. And that was, and it's the usual thing that happens, which is, it'd be Mr. Mohammed Iqbal, Mr. Mohammed Iqbal Khan, Mr. Mohammed Khan, Mr. Iqbal Mohammed Khan. Do you know what I mean? So it's literally the same combination of three names. So it's clearly the same people over and over again. And we have this family voting as well, which has been a major problem. I remember knocking on the door when Sadiq Khan was running for Tooting in 2010. And young women would answer the door and they would say, "We don't know which way we vote. Dad decides on behalf of the entire family." And that's a really worrying thing. And so, look, I think that both political parties need to apologise to the public for this. And I'll say why. Number one, Labour is determined to make electoral fraud easy. The Conservatives don't care because they don't care about the seats where the electoral fraud is committed. Neither of those is a responsible position. And I have to say, from a lawyer in the case of Keir Starmer, to deliberately wish to preside over a system in order to enable fraud, I mean, I just find that reprehensible.
It's messed up. So I mean, there's one thing is about obviously the foreigners, and we kind of know sometimes how it happens in Tower Hamlets in Peterborough. They did the same thing. One issue is postal voting, because if the father in the family basically decides to tick the boxes on behalf of everybody else, that's one issue. But we also had intimidation lobbying campaigns by, for example, what was his name, Lutfur Ahmad, the mayor of the Tower Hamlets. These things are not being addressed. These are vote rigging, definitely, but also at the same time, they is making big constitutional changes without a referendum. If you change the electoral system, including automatically registering 15-year-olds just before they become 16, isn't that a major constitutional change? Usually the convention is you do a referendum for constitutional changes in the UK.
Well, that isn't the convention, but it really ought to be the convention.
Yep.
The problem that we've got is that obviously Parliament is officially sovereign. Parliament was forced to have that back, by the way, from the European Union, but they are sovereign. Um, and I think what there was never an intention when this system grew up that constitutions would be changed on a whim. The other thing that people forget is that there are three bodies of Parliament, and we really need to revive the third body. Everybody can mention the House of Commons. Everybody knows about the House of Lords, but people forget the Crown in Parliament. It is not a veto right that the King has. All three have to agree. The Crown, the Lords, and the Commoners all have to agree. Now, what used to happen in the past was that the monarch would veto constitutional, well, it's not veto to say, would not approve constitutional changes. Whereas, of course, things are going through on a whim now. Let's abolish the hereditary peerage. Well, okay, fine. you may think the hereditary peerage are out of date, but remember that they get given it automatically by birth and elect a small delegation. That's the only election to the House of Lords. Now, you may find it a laughable election, but it is still an election. And what will it be replaced with? Only cronies of the major political parties. Probably quite good news for you and I with reform, but let's just leave that out of it for a second. But the reality is that we're presiding over a system where constitutional change is done on a whim. I'll tell you the change I would make, Maya. Your viewers and you may have your own view on it, but I'm going to say to you that I think what needs to happen is that from now on, the king or whoever the monarch is required to assess the following: that a constitutional change is needed, and you can come up with a definition of needed or required. It represents a long-standing wish of the public, and it is overwhelmingly popular. So I would say something like, when you say abolition of the hereditary peerage, how many people would put that in their top 50 political issues? Very few, and top 50 is a big number. So you would have to say, look, 75% of the public have been consistently saying they want to do this for the past 10 years, then we'll make the change. Whereas actually what's happening is the government, who now rules both chambers, because of course Starmer has a majority in the Commons, but also can appoint as many peers as he wants, can then change the constitution. I think, you could ram through all sorts of things. It's like a banana republic. But let me tell you something else that I think your viewers and listeners are going to be very interested in. Rees-Mogg is not right. Well, Rees-Mogg is not right. He's not wrong either. Commonwealth voters can vote. They can also stand. If I come from Nigeria and have a right to be resident in the United Kingdom, I can run for all sorts of elected offices in the country. An Irish citizen doesn't even need permission to come to the UK, can move to the UK. If you were an Irish citizen, without British citizenship, you can become British Prime Minister. You don't have to be a British national. Now, that is clearly ludicrous. And I think
that's wrong. That shouldn't. Why is that a thing? It's 2025.
The actual reason was this. Because when Ireland became an independent country, when Ireland began pretending it was an independent country, that tap gets switched on and off depending on how they feel, right? They're independent when they want to do a deal with the EU, not so independent when Bank of Ireland goes bust. But anyway, when they became independent, we didn't want lots of Irish citizens clogging up the immigration service by demanding citizenship. But look, it's a real mess, and I say this to you again, and apologies for the tech problems, but I wanted to come on the show deliberately to talk about this. This is the two parties willfully creating electoral fraud, and it's shameful.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. No, thank you very much, Andre, for this. Luckily we still had your audio, even though your picture is frozen. You can now go to the rival channel GB News with your friend. How dare you? But ladies and gentlemen, that was Andre Walker. So he's correct about obviously all these changes that are needed when it comes to the historic issues. But actually, we can't just randomly make changes to the constitution. It's best to actually get the public consent. One other thing to actually consider is that this government is lying to every single person. They have the mainstream media by their side. They're gaslighting the general public. Before we get to the main point of the tonight and the update, which is about the fake inquiries into the grooming gangs, which has been announced today. Before we do that, just imagine even a Tory government, which to the rest of us, the Tories are basically like the Lib Dems. But for the mainstream media, the Tories are, very right-wing, scary, right? Imagine a Tory government get into power. They announce they're going to be making changes to the voting age. So the Labour government wants to bring it down to 16, right? Imagine the Tories say we're going to bring it up to 21, right? And then they say, we are also going to be cancelling a number of the local elections. And then they say, we're going to be making changes and bring extra voter IDs. Basically the opposite of what Labour is doing. Imagine the outrage in the media, the rest of the establishment, protests, general strikes, everything else, right? But when Labour makes radical changes, it's just everything is fine. Nobody in the mainstream media or the establishment is actually kicking off about the fact that local elections are being cancelled. They're making changes to the voting age. They're giving rights to foreigners to vote. They're automatically registering children, 15-year-old kids, automatically registering them to vote. it's bribery. And obviously, they don't really mind. But they're also desperate. So Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, announced earlier today that what we're going to do is we're actually going to be using the national government to get involved with the grooming gangs. And I was like, okay, that's going to be interesting. National inquiry? No. Local inquiries funded by the national government. So let me get this correct. Local governments are funded by the taxpayers. National government is funded by taxpayers. Until today, the national government was saying local government should use the taxpayers' money to pay for it. And now they're saying, don't worry guys, we're going to be paid for it, national government, using the tax money. So it's still the same taxpayers' money, but they want to take credit. But there are big issues with this. So firstly, Maggie Oliver, who's been exposing this sort of scandals and the cover-ups, she threatened to sue Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary. She threatened legal action, saying if you don't do something, we are going to be coming out and exposing every single one of you. I don't know what she had on her, but that kind of prompted Yvette Cooper and the Home Office to come up with an idea on the hoof. That's what they do. Come up with policy on the hoof, just randomly. So the idea is this, in case you don't know. The national government will be funding at least 5 new local inquiries. 5, advised by Tom Crowther, KC. There are many issues with this, by the way, but let's see what else. However, these inquiries cannot force anyone to testify, and the findings will not lead to direct national action. What? What is the point? They have no legal powers. You're still wasting taxpayers' money, but the worst part, you're only going to be funding 4 or 5 of them. We have this problem in about 40 to 50 towns in England alone. You haven't even talked about what's going on in London. It's not really a problem in just 5 areas. It's in every single town and city at this point. But no. Also, they have no power to even get people to testify. What is the point of this? It's so embarrassing. And they think that they've just scored a political point. I'm guessing if the BBC and the Guardian are going around saying, well, that this lovely government have announced their support for the inquiries and investigations into the gangs, everything's fine then, right? Because that's how it works. It's absolutely shameful what they are doing to this country. So it is important to get your reaction. Of course, Flossitop says thank you for the super chat. Leaves the door open to voter fraud and undocumented migrants allowed to vote. As with everything, Labour is on the wrong side of every single argument. One of the big issues is without the voter IDs, all you have to do is basically go and give your address, and they will check your address and name, for example, and you can vote. So what that means is, for example, if you know your neighbor is not going to vote, all you have to do, just go, and especially if you're in the Islamic community, all you have to do, wear a burqa, go there and say, yes, I live on number 2, that street, right? Yeah, and my name is Fatima something, but it's not, right? And you can vote without actual ID. That's what's been going on. Then there's a big problem, because they can't check who you are, especially if you're a burqa. They don't know what Fatima looks like. That's just one example. But could do with anybody and anybody's name. Especially when the fathers in his households will be voting on behalf of everybody else. But these are uncomfortable conversations, apparently. These are politically incorrect conversations to have. Well, luckily on 2CTV we don't do that. We don't believe in political correctness, so we will be mentioning all this, even if they don't do it on the mainstream media. Rogue Trooper says, what do you think of Kier 100-year pledge to Ukraine? Again, it's just policy on the hoof. They're just coming up with random things, like big promises with no meaning. It's the same with most of the 2030 green policies. So we already now know that most of the net zero policies for 2030 is not going to happen now. Because you can't just randomly make a big promise in less than 10 years and say, yeah, by 2030, I mean, hypothetically, we're going to be banning cars. Well, good luck with that. It's not going to happen. Or stopping oil, things like that. So just like how they've already made U-turns on so many of the 2030 targets that they had, now it's 2035, it's going to be 2040, and they're just going to continue to ruin your life without actually achieving their own stupid goals anyway. They're doing the same thing with foreign policies. All right, so super chat from Graham. Thank you very much, Graham. And Benjamin says, Rotherham nurse stabbing. He has identified in court today as, Mohammed Rahman Haq. All mainstream media have covered up his full name of Mohammed. Of course they have. And Ivan says, Andre is a worse technophobe than you might. I know. That says a lot, right? And at least we had his audio, which is good, right? Vinny says, 1st of February, meet at Waterloo at 12 p.m. See you there. Yes, guys, I see you in London, hopefully, on the 1st of February. I will be making a speech as usual anyway at our next protest to free the political prisoners, especially Tommy. Next, Ivan says, Starmer is just giving the public the middle finger. Yeah. That's the problem. And he thinks he's getting away with it now. Oh, people are going to remember this. You can already see the outrage in the opinion polls. His approval rating is massively down. And this is just the beginning. It hasn't even been a year. It's been, well, vaguely, just about half a year, right? Since he's been in government. A disgrace. We're being gaslighted and told we don't matter by this decision. Yeah, they basically, no one matters apart from those who vote Labour. And John says they know their voter base, imported people ready to vote, just need to remove the last obstacle. So John Smith is right, and actually there's a point to be made as a reminder in case you don't know. Alistair Campbell, the former director of communications in Downing Street under Tony Blair, alongside Peter Mandelson, who's potentially going to be our ambassador to the US, who's obviously a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and Tony Blair himself, in early 2000s, late 1990s, when Blair became Prime Minister, they said publicly that we are proud that we are going to go and send out search parties to different countries to bring in migrants. Search party. They were scouting people like it's a football club. They were treating the United Kingdom as a kingdom, as, just come in. They said they are proudly bringing in people because they knew that if they say, the Labour Party brought you, now you owe us, vote for us. That's how they did it in the 2000s. And it's been happening since then anyway. Ivan says, these are sham inquiries for crying out loud. Yep, I agree. And Vinny says, Labour's truth will be exposed by the inquiries, PDFs. Well, if. Not these inquiries. So even if they end up doing these fake ones, which is funded by the national government, like 5, they're going to pick the safest ones. I can assure you what they're going to do, even if it happens. So out of the 40 to 50 towns and cities that we have this problem, massive crisis, we've got gangs everywhere, right? They're going to do 4 or 5. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to pick the safest ones that no big name from the Labour Party will be implicated. Like Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, anybody else. And considering these inquiries don't actually have any legal powers to not only do any direct action, so afterwards the result comes out, you don't do anything about it. They just say, here we go. That's it. No legal powers to arrest anybody else. Not only that, the inquiries don't have any power to force you to testify, which means nobody will testify. I can assure you, nothing's going to happen. No one's going to turn up as usual because they will stop people. And that's what they've always done. Again, we've seen incidents in recent times. We've seen, there's still a lot of questions around the Southport attack. That's just one example. So many unanswered questions. Obviously, we will be covering the trial that will start on the 20th of January on this channel. It's going to be a busy day, obviously. We're going to have a reporter at that trial. We're going to have another reporter on TCTV at the Ricky Jones, the Labour councillor's trial as well. And then, obviously, later in the evening, we'll be focusing on Donald Trump's inauguration. But in the morning, we'll be focusing on British politics and these trials because the media are trying to distract you, trying to say, nothing. Even today, The broadcast media did not talk about the Manchester airport attackers, the brothers. We covered it. The Manchester evening newspaper thing, whatever it's called. They covered it. A local newspaper, that's it. There was no Sky News helicopters or BBC News helicopters outside the court. No, absolutely not. So expect the same thing on the 20th of January. I'm definitely expect the same thing. Because then they're not going to be that interested, although there is a lot of pressure on Southport and Axel Rudakabana, the suspect. So I think there will be some coverage, but not really in detail, so they're not going to really give you any information. So if you want to find out what's going on with all these trials, watch CCTV on that day, because that's the only way you will stay up to date. We're going to have our reporters there. So where are we with there's stuff going on? There's also some... we just have some breaking news from Israel as well. Yeah, Ben-Gvir, the interior minister, has just resigned from the Israeli government. So we will be covering that later on this channel as we get more information, including his statement. Obviously, Ben-Gvir said that he will be resigning if the ceasefire deal actually goes through. There's still some issues with that ceasefire deal, which is not looking too well on so many levels. Anyway, where are we with you guys? This Labour nutter is a terrorist. Which one? Which Labour nutter? I mean, every single person in the Labour Party is a nutter these days, but I can't really tell which one we're talking about. Lilia says, I'm surprised it has taken this long for them to implement this. You mean the scrapping the voter ID or the inquiry? It'll be good to get some context in the comment section. I can't really guess exactly. Now. Timo says, thank you for planning on covering everything on Trump Day, Maya. Yes, I mean, I was going to say that's our job, but also it should be the job of all global media, focused on important news stories of the day. We will be talking about the trials, and then later in the evening, we will be talking about the inauguration, because I'm still on edge about this inauguration thing. I know I'm cynical. I'm not really saying anything will happen, but I just need to see that guy go through the whole thing and officially become president until I can relax. And obviously the next 4 years, they're going to still try and kill him anyway. Not that they'll succeed, because Trump is invincible, apparently. He can't just take him out. But yeah, I'm still on edge. I need to make sure that guy actually becomes president first. We have a super chat from Natalie saying, 2C fans, please like the video while you are here and watching. Likes are important for the channel. And Natalie, you are extremely important to the channel, because I always forget to say this, and you just did it for us, so thank you so much. And Vinny says, Nick Tanconi, Rally, Southampton, 25th of January, 1 p.m. Thank you, Vinny, for that announcement. Also, while we're making an announcement, let's just make my own announcement. Why not? Actually, hopefully tomorrow or this weekend, we will be introducing you guys to a new 2C TV presenter. Oh, I'm so excited about this one. I can't reveal the name yet. It's going to be a good one. Obviously, it's been a hard journey trying to scout people, to find good, talented people who also could tick the diversity boxes, because I think we need more white people on 2C TV. So we're getting a white person, yay! Yes, we got an Anglo-Saxon joining us as one of the 2C TV presenters. Hopefully you like him. And also, speaking of announcements, today and tomorrow, your final days. Do it. Don't tell me to give me a discount again, because that's the last time I'm giving a discount. I'm kidding. Use the promo code WIN50 to join 2C TV Plus on annual subscription base. Go to 2c.tv or find the link in the description. Promo code WIN50. Get 50% off today. Now, this, someone said, is it a bunny? The presenter? No one will be Bun Bun. There's only one Bun Bun. Well, was, unfortunately. Now, whereas, did somebody say, I'm Team White? What's this? 50% of viewers liked you today. Only half. What happened to the other 50%? Okay. that says white people. I've heard of those. They used to be in adverts 15 years ago. Yeah, we don't really see white people in adverts, do you? Although, unless you watch, I guess, GB News. Although, I don't know if you, for those who watch GB News, one thing I kind of find hilarious about GB News is the adverts, because the adverts on GB News are not normal adverts. Because all the major advertisers boycotted GB News. Cowards, right? So what you get is local adverts on GB News. Literally local. So they say, we are a local shop in the corner of Cardiff. So if you're watching from Manchester, you have to drive all the way to Cardiff. So it's not really national adverts, but you get a lot of white people in those adverts. So if you want to see white people in adverts, watch GB News. But I do love how just like random village, like there's like one single shop advertising on national TV. It's good. Support local businesses. Why not? It's just a little bit hard for people to get to these villages, obviously. Now, what? Bring diversity to London. There are no whites. Well, yeah, I mean the white English are now minorities. So actually, speaking of which, in about an hour, we will be bringing you guys a very, very important update, because this one is actually disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So this is about what Westminster, the City of Westminster Council are doing, which is basically banning white people and actual racism. But it's fine because it's in the name of diversity, DEI. But I'm going to give you all the information around 9 p.m. UK time on that story, because I think of all the things we talk about on a regular basis, the woke weirdos and everything else, this one is so open and public, and there doesn't seem to be any backlash. Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. As I said, we have a new daily schedule for the live shows, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. UK time, 1 p.m. UK time, and 7 p.m. UK time. Throughout the day, if breaking news happens, we'll come to you guys as usual. Weekends is ad hoc, as like before, basically. Whatever happens during the weekend, I'll come to you guys. But we're not going to have a fixed schedule on weekends. I need to have a life. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.